Behavior shapes belief. When you carry yourself with confidence, your mind begins to align with that image. The human brain is wired in such a way that it takes cues from the body more often than we realize. A simple shift in posture, the way you hold your shoulders, the steadiness of your eye contact, or the tone of your voice can immediately begin to reprogram your internal narrative. People assume belief must come first, that confidence must be felt deep within before it can be expressed outwardly. In reality, belief often follows behavior. By acting with confidence, even when you don't feel it, you signal to your subconscious that you are capable, worthy, and prepared. Over time, those signals accumulate into genuine belief. Consider the science of body language. Studies show that when someone stands tall, expands their frame, and takes up space, their body produces hormonal changes. Cortisol levels drop and testosterone rises, creating a sense of power and calm. This physiological response begins to reinforce the very confidence the body is projecting. It's a feedback loop. Behavior influences biology, and biology influences psychology. The person who deliberately chooses confident behavior starts to actually feel more confident, even if they began the day full of doubt. This principle explains why leaders are often remembered for their presence more than their words. Presence is not an accident, it is crafted. A leader may be battling fear internally, but they choose to walk into the room with steadiness, to speak with conviction, to listen with intent. That choice in behavior begins to reshape not only how others see them, but how they see themselves. Over time, the repeated behavior of confidence hardens into authentic belief in their own ability to lead. Everyday life offers countless opportunities to test this. Think about the person who walks into a job interview with slumped shoulders, avoiding eye contact, and speaking in a low, uncertain tone. Even if they are qualified, their behavior communicates self-doubt. Their brain registers that doubt and magnifies it, leaving them even more insecure. Now contrast that with the candidate who enters the room upright, with measured steps, who greets firmly and speaks clearly. Even if that person feels nervous inside, their chosen behavior convinces their brain they belong there, which in turn calms their nerves and strengthens their belief that they can succeed. Behavior shapes belief because the mind craves evidence. When you act timidly, the mind interprets it as proof that you are not capable. When you act with courage, even in small doses, the mind interprets that as proof that you are stronger than your fears. Over time, the collection of these small acts of confident behavior builds a reservoir of evidence. This evidence becomes belief. And belief, once built, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why many high performers adopt rituals or practices that set the tone for their behavior before critical moments. Athletes often visualize their success, but they also physically rehearse how they will walk onto the court, how they will stand during competition, how they will carry themselves under pressure. They know that the body is a training ground for the mind. By teaching the body to behave in alignment with confidence, the mind learns to follow. The same applies to anyone striving to grow personally or professionally. You do not wait for belief before you act in order to build belief. Confidence is not a gift, it is a skill developed by consistent behavior. Each time you choose to raise your hand in a meeting, to voice an idea, to introduce yourself to someone new, you reinforce the identity of a confident person. The more often you repeat this cycle, the more natural it becomes. What once felt like pretending evolves into authentic self-assurance. Ultimately, behavior is the bridge between where you are and what you believe you can be. By carrying yourself with confidence, even before belief is fully formed, you teach your mind to align with the image you project. Over time, the behavior becomes belief, and the belief becomes reality. Identity precedes outcome. You don't become successful first, you act like the kind of person who earns success. Too often people wait for results before they decide to change who they are. They tell themselves that once they get the job, once they have the recognition, once they achieve the milestone, then they will start acting with discipline, confidence, and vision. But the sequence is backward. Success does not suddenly arrive and transform someone into a new identity. It is the other way around. Adopting the identity first creates the conditions for the outcome to appear. The way human behavior works is deeply tied to self-image. People act in ways that are consistent with who they believe they are. If someone believes they are unreliable, they will unconsciously behave in ways that reinforce unreliability. If someone identifies as disciplined, they will behave in line with that identity, whether or not external rewards are immediate. This is why true change does not begin with goals alone. Goals are about what you want to achieve, but identity is about who you decide to become. And when identity shifts, the behaviors necessary for success start to feel natural instead of forced. Consider an example of someone who wants to get fit. They can set a goal to lose weight or run a marathon, but if their identity remains, "I am not an athlete," their actions will always feel like a struggle. Every workout will feel unnatural. Every disciplined choice will feel like resistance. But if they begin to adopt the identity of, "I am someone who trains, I am an athlete in progress," their choices begin to align naturally with that identity. Going for a run is no longer about forcing themselves toward a goal. It is simply what someone with that identity does. The outcome, better health, stronger performance, follows naturally from the identity shift. This principle applies in business, leadership, relationships, and every pursuit. A person does not suddenly become a leader the day they are given a title. They become a leader the moment they start acting like one, taking responsibility, guiding others, making decisions with clarity. The outcome of recognition, authority, and influence comes after the identity of leadership has already been practiced. Similarly, financial success does not begin with wealth magically arriving. It begins when someone adopts the identity of a responsible steward of resources. They act like someone who manages money wisely, who invests in learning, who plans long term. Over time, that identity produces the visible outcomes of wealth. Acting like the kind of person who earns success is not about pretending or faking it. It is about living into a standard that pulls you forward. The identity becomes a compass that guides behavior even in small, unseen moments. The student who identifies as a future innovator will study differently. The employee who identifies as a future entrepreneur will approach tasks with ownership. The parent who identifies as a role model will carry themselves with integrity even when no one is watching. These consistent acts of alignment accumulate, and the world begins to reflect back the success that has already been lived in private. Identity precedes outcome because identity drives choices and choices shape destiny. When you decide who you are and act in accordance with it, the results eventually catch up. The mistake many make is waiting for proof before they claim the identity. But the truth is, the proof arrives only after the claim has been made. To become successful, you must first act like the person who deserves that success, and then the outcome becomes inevitable. Signals create standards. The way you present yourself teaches others how to see and treat you. Every human interaction is filtered through perception, and perception is shaped by the signals you send, consciously or unconsciously. Your tone of voice, your body language, your punctuality, your consistency, even the way you dress, all of these are signals. They broadcast messages to others about your level of confidence, your boundaries, your priorities, and your values. People take those signals and build expectations around them. Over time, those expectations harden into the standards by which they engage with you. If you carry yourself with hesitation, speak with uncertainty, or show up unprepared, you are signaling that your time and voice may not be valuable. As a result, others may treat you as though you are less capable, less credible, or less worth listening to. Not because they are deliberately dismissive, but because the signals you gave them created that frame of reference. On the other hand, when you present yourself with confidence, clarity, and presence, you communicate that your contribution carries weight. Others adjust their standards accordingly and treat you as someone who deserves attention and respect. Consider how leaders establish authority. It is not simply because of a title or a position. Authority is reinforced by signals. A leader who shows up prepared for meetings, who listens actively, who speaks with measured conviction, and who follows through on commitments teaches their team that professionalism and reliability are the standard. Over time, the team mirrors these standards because they have learned what is expected through the leader's signals. If the leader is consistently late, dismissive, or careless with words, the opposite standard is created. People lower their expectations, and the culture follows suit. Signals also apply to personal relationships. If you allow someone to constantly interrupt you without asserting your right to finish your thought, you signal that your words are optional. If you respond to messages at all hours, you signal that your boundaries are flexible. People then interact with you under those standards, not because they are inherently disrespectful, but because you allowed the signal to teach them that such behavior is acceptable. Conversely, when you communicate boundaries clearly, carry yourself with respect, and follow through on what you say, you establish standards of mutual respect. People quickly learn how to treat you based on the consistency of those signals. This dynamic explains why first impressions carry such weight. In the first few moments of meeting someone, the signals you send are shaping the standards they will use in every interaction afterward. A strong handshake, eye contact, attentiveness. These teach others to see you as confident and trustworthy. Slouched posture, distracted behavior, or nervous fidgeting may unintentionally set a lower standard. While standards can be reset over time, the effort required is far greater than sending the right signals from the start. The power of signals lies in their consistency. A single moment of confidence may impress someone briefly, but repeated signals of confidence create lasting standards. Likewise, a single display of weakness does not define you, but repeated signals of unreliability eventually set a standard that is hard to undo. Every day you are training others on how to treat you, whether you realize it or not. The lesson is that you cannot control every perception, but you can control the signals you choose to send. Each action is an opportunity to reinforce the standards you want others to hold when they interact with you. If you want respect, signal respect for yourself. If you want trust, signal integrity. If you want to be taken seriously, present yourself in a way that leaves no room for doubt. Over time, those signals solidify into standards, and the standards define the quality of the relationship's opportunities and respect you receive. Consistency builds credibility. Small daily acts of discipline and posture compound into lasting respect. Credibility is never established in a single moment of brilliance. It is built layer by layer through the quiet, repetitive acts that most people overlook. When others look at you, they are not only paying attention to what you say, but to whether your actions align with your words. That alignment, repeated over time, becomes credibility. And credibility is the foundation of respect, influence, and trust. When you show up on time every day, you signal reliability. When you follow through on promises, no matter how small, you signal integrity. When you prepare before speaking, you signal seriousness. These small disciplines may not draw applause in the moment, but together they create a record that others cannot ignore. People may forget your isolated wins, but they rarely forget the pattern you create. And patterns are what credibility is built upon. Consider the professional who delivers one outstanding performance, but repeatedly misses deadlines or arrives late. Their brilliance may shine temporarily, but their inconsistency erodes credibility. Others may admire their talent but hesitate to rely on them. Now compare this with someone who may not always dazzle but consistently meets deadlines, contributes steadily, and shows up with discipline. Over time, this individual earns greater trust, greater respect, and ultimately greater opportunities. Consistency makes their presence dependable, and dependability is far more valuable than flashes of excellence. The same principle applies to leadership. A leader who is unpredictable may inspire in moments but confuse in the long run. A leader who consistently models the values they preach builds trust across their team. Employees and peers do not just listen to words, they study whether behavior matches. If discipline and steadiness are observed every day, people believe the message because they see it lived. That credibility turns into loyalty, which is the deepest form of respect a leader can earn. Consistency also compounds because it strengthens your own self-identity. When you keep small promises to yourself, you begin to see yourself as someone reliable, someone disciplined, someone worthy of respect. This self-perception becomes the anchor for how you act in bigger moments. If you cannot be consistent in the small daily disciplines, waking up on time, honoring commitments, maintaining posture, you will struggle to project credibility in moments of high pressure. But if you have built a foundation of consistent habits, credibility flows naturally, both inwardly and outwardly. Think about posture, not just in the physical sense, but in the way you present yourself to the world. Consistently standing tall, speaking clearly, maintaining composure under pressure, all of these behaviors accumulate in the minds of others. Over time, they no longer judge you by isolated moments, but by the reputation your consistency has built. You become someone people expect steadiness from, someone they can rely on, someone they trust even when circumstances are uncertain. The compounding effect of consistency is much like investing. Small contributions may seem insignificant at first, but over time they grow into something powerful and enduring. The daily disciplines that appear invisible are silently building credibility that will pay dividends for years. This is why the most respected individuals are not those who shined only once, but those whose actions aligned with their values repeatedly, across seasons, challenges, and opportunities. Respect does not come from a single achievement. It comes from the accumulation of countless small acts that prove discipline, reliability, and integrity. Credibility is not what you declare. It is what you demonstrate consistently day after day. And once established, it becomes one of the most unshakable forms of power you can carry. Vision drives action. Acting, as if, forces you to make decisions from the perspective of where you want to be, not where you are. Most people get stuck because they only make choices based on their current circumstances. They let present limitations, doubts, and fears dictate their actions. But growth requires a shift in perspective. You must decide not from the lens of where you stand today, but from the vision of who you want to become. This is the essence of acting as if, aligning your behavior with your future self rather than your current self. When you adopt this mindset, every decision becomes a step toward your vision. Instead of asking, can I afford this risk right now? You ask, would the person I want to become take this risk? Instead of saying, I don't feel ready, you ask, how would the future version of me prepare and show up? By doing so, you begin to collapse the gap between your present and your desired future. The vision dictates the action, and action brings the vision closer to reality. Consider an entrepreneur just starting out. If they only act from their current situation, they might hesitate to invest in learning, avoid reaching out to potential partners, or shy away from opportunities because they don't yet feel established. But if they act as if they are already a capable business leader, they make decisions differently. They approach meetings with confidence, they prepare their work with excellence, and they take calculated risks that align with their vision. Over time, those actions shape their reality into the very outcome they once imagined. The principle is not about pretending or lying to yourself. It's about choosing to live in alignment with your future identity. Athletes do this through visualization. Before stepping into competition, they see themselves as champions. They train, eat, and rest not as amateurs hoping for a break, but as professionals preparing for inevitable success. The vision of victory drives every action, and the actions compound into real performance. Without vision, training feels meaningless. With vision, every repetition feels like an investment into destiny. The same principle applies in daily life. If someone wants to be respected in their career, they cannot wait for a promotion to act with leadership. They must carry themselves with responsibility now, taking ownership of their tasks, supporting their colleagues, presenting ideas with clarity. The vision of leadership drives them to act like a leader long before the title arrives. Eventually, the title follows the behavior, because the world begins to recognize what the person has already been living. Vision also provides resilience. When setbacks occur, those who act only from their current situation may give up easily, because the obstacles look too large. But those driven by vision see setbacks differently. They ask, what would the future version of me do here? That question pulls them to respond with persistence, creativity, and strength. The vision makes the action purposeful, even in difficulty. What makes this powerful is that vision-driven action changes not only external outcomes, but also internal belief. Every time you make a choice aligned with your future, you reinforce the identity of the person you are becoming. Small decisions, choosing discipline over comfort, courage over hesitation, preparation over procrastination, become proof that you are living into the vision. That proof builds belief, and belief accelerates the journey. Acting as if is not a trick, it is a discipline. It requires clarity about the vision, courage to act beyond your current comfort zone, and consistency to stay aligned even when results are not immediate. But the reward is transformation. By making decisions from where you want to be rather than where you are, you bring the future into the present, and eventually, the life you envision becomes the life you are living. Energy attracts opportunity. People are drawn to those who radiate purpose, belief, and momentum. Human beings are wired to respond to energy. It is not always the most talented, the most knowledgeable, or the most experienced who capture attention. It is often the ones who carry an energy that inspires confidence and sparks curiosity. Energy is contagious. The way you carry yourself, the enthusiasm you bring, the conviction in your voice, all of these create an invisible force that others can feel. And when your energy reflects clarity, passion, and determination, it naturally pulls people, resources, and opportunities in your direction. Think of a time you encountered someone who spoke with genuine excitement about their vision. Even if you didn't fully understand the details of what they were pursuing, you likely felt compelled to listen. Their belief and passion created a gravitational pull. This is the power of energy. When someone radiates momentum, others want to be part of it. People are attracted not just to the idea, but to the feeling that the idea is going somewhere. Opportunities often emerge not from formal qualifications alone, but from human connection. When a leader looks for someone to promote, they seek not only skill, but also energy, the kind of presence that can inspire a team and drive progress. When investors look for projects, they don't just analyze numbers, they respond to the energy and conviction of the people behind the project. When friends or colleagues look for someone to collaborate with, they choose those whose energy lifts them higher, not those who drain them. Energy becomes a silent some, communicating potential more powerfully than words can. This is why purpose matters. When you know why you are doing something, your energy shifts. Purpose gives weight to your words and fire to your actions. Even in difficult times, people can sense whether your energy comes from a deeper mission or from superficial ambition. The former attracts allies, mentors, and partners because it feels real and enduring. The latter fades quickly because energy without authenticity cannot be sustained. Purpose-driven energy radiates belief, and belief makes others believe too. Momentum is another key factor. Energy is not just about excitement, it is about forward movement. A person may have passion but no progress, and their energy will eventually ring hollow. But when someone takes consistent steps toward their vision, no matter how small, their energy communicates momentum. Others are drawn to momentum because it signals that something meaningful is unfolding. People want to align with those who are already in motion because progress is magnetic. Energy also determines resilience. When challenges arise, the energy you bring to the situation influences how others perceive the problem. If you radiate panic, doubt, or defeat, opportunities may slip away because others sense instability. But if you radiate calm, strength, creativity, and determination, people trust that you can handle obstacles. This trust attracts new opportunities precisely when you need them most. The world does not simply give chances to the most deserving, it gives chances to those who seem ready to carry them forward, and energy is the proof of readiness. Every interaction is an opportunity to send out energy that either attracts or repels. A smile, genuine attention, enthusiasm in your tone. These may seem small, but they shape how others remember you. Over time, your energy builds a reputation. Some are remembered as sources of light, inspiration, and drive, while others are remembered as draining or uninspiring. Your reputation for energy will determine not only who wants to work with you, but also what opportunities come your way. Energy attracts opportunity because people crave alignment with those who lift them higher. Purposeful, passionate, and momentum-filled energy is like a magnet. It cannot be ignored. And when you learn to cultivate it, you stop chasing opportunities. Opportunities begin to chase you.